What if I told you that financial independence isn't one destination? It's a ladder, and most people don't realize they're climbing it. You might already be on level 2 without knowing it. Someone else might be on level 6. And the person you consider rich might actually be somewhere around level 8. The interesting part? You don't need to become a millionaire to start becoming financially independent. You just need to reach the next level. Because financial freedom isn't about suddenly having millions of dollars sitting in your bank account. It's about gradually reducing the amount of control money has over your life. And today, we're going to climb all 10 levels of financial independence. By the end, you'll know exactly where you stand, what the next level looks like, and what you need to do to reach it. So if you want to understand this, watch until the end, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Finance with Brad. Let's begin. Level 1, Financial Awareness. The first level doesn't involve investing. It doesn't involve making 6 figures. And it definitely doesn't involve becoming a millionaire. It starts with something much simpler. Knowing where your money actually goes. Think about it. You get paid. Your paycheck arrives. Rent gets deducted. Bills get paid. You buy groceries. You order food. You pay for subscriptions. You go out with friends. And somehow, the money disappears. If you've ever looked at your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? You're not alone. At level 1, your goal isn't to become wealthy. It's to become aware. You start tracking your income. You understand your expenses. You identify unnecessary spending. You know how much debt you have. And for the first time, you stop guessing about your finances. You actually know. That's the foundation. Because you can't improve something you refuse to measure. Level 2, spending less than you earn. Now you've started paying attention. The next question becomes, are you spending less than you make? This sounds obvious. But millions of people earn decent incomes and still live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because when income increases, lifestyle often increases with it. A bigger paycheck becomes a nicer car, a nicer apartment, more expensive restaurants, more subscriptions, more shopping, and eventually, the bigger income doesn't create more freedom. It simply creates more expensive obligations. Level 2 is where you break that cycle. You create a gap between what you earn and what you spend. Maybe it's $100 a month. Maybe it's $500. Maybe it's $2,000. The amount matters less than the habit, because that gap becomes the fuel for every level that comes next. Level 3, building an emergency fund. Now imagine something unexpected happens. Your car needs an expensive repair. Your company cuts your hours. You lose your job. A major bill suddenly appears. Without savings, one unexpected expense can turn into credit card debt. That's why level 3 is about building an emergency fund. Think of it as your financial shock absorber. Instead of immediately reaching for a credit card, you have cash available. A common target is several months of essential living expenses, although the right amount depends on your situation. The important thing is that emergencies stop automatically becoming financial disasters. And something interesting happens here. Your savings don't just protect your bank account. They protect your peace of mind. You start sleeping better. You make decisions with less panic. And that leads to the next level. Level 4, becoming debt resistant. Debt isn't automatically bad. A mortgage can finance a home. A student loan can finance education. Business debt can sometimes finance growth. But high-interest consumer debt can become extremely expensive, especially credit card debt. At level 4, your goal is to stop debt from controlling your future. You understand interest. You know exactly what you owe. You stop borrowing for things you don't actually need. And you're aggressively reducing expensive debt. Because here's the problem with high-interest debt. Your money starts working for someone else. Every interest payment is money that could have been invested, saved, or used to create opportunities. The goal isn't necessarily to never borrow money. It's to make sure debt remains a tool, not a trap. Level 5, investing consistently. This is where something changes. You stop simply saving money and start putting your money to work. Because cash sitting in a bank account can provide safety. But long-term wealth usually requires assets that have the potential to grow. That might include diversified stock investments, retirement accounts, bonds, real estate, or other assets depending on your circumstances and risk tolerance. The key word here is consistently. You don't need to predict the next stock market winner. You don't need to stare at charts every day. You don't need to become a professional investor. Instead, you develop a system. You invest regularly. You stay diversified. You think in years and decades instead of days and weeks. And then something powerful begins happening. Compounding. Your returns can generate additional returns. Your money begins producing more money. And time becomes one of your greatest advantages. Level 6. Financial stability. At level 6, your finances start feeling different. You're no longer constantly worried about the next paycheck. You have savings. You have investments. Your expensive debt is under control. And your financial system works even when you're not thinking about it every day. But there's another important change. You begin building margin. Margin means having room. Room between your income and expenses. Room in your emergency fund. Room in your schedule. Room to handle unexpected problems. And that margin gives you something extremely valuable. Options. You can handle a surprise expense. You can take a short break. You can consider changing jobs. You don't have to accept every financial decision from a position of desperation. You're not financially free yet, but you're becoming financially stable. Level 7. Work becomes a choice. Now we're getting somewhere interesting. At level 7, your investments and assets have become meaningful enough that your job isn't your only source of financial security. You still work, but psychologically, something changes. You realize, I don't have to stay here forever. Maybe you don't like your manager. Maybe you want to change careers. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to work fewer hours. Before this level, leaving your job might feel impossible. Now, it's a possibility. This is one of the most underrated forms of wealth. Not luxury cars. Not expensive watches. Choice. The ability to say no. The ability to walk away. The ability to choose work based on meaning, growth, flexibility, or purpose. Not just survival. Level 8. Financial independence. Now we reach the level most people are talking about when they say, I want to be financially independent. Your investments and other reliable sources of income can cover your lifestyle without requiring you to depend entirely on employment. But here's an important distinction. Financial independence doesn't necessarily mean you're rich. It means your assets can support your required spending. If you spend $40,000 a year, your financial independence number will be very different from someone who spends $150,000 a year. That's why financial independence is personal. It's not about keeping up with somebody else's number. It's about creating enough financial resources to support your own definition of a good life. And when you reach this level, work becomes optional. You can still work. You may even want to work. But now you're working because you choose to, not because missing one paycheck would destroy your life. Level 9. Financial freedom. So what's the difference between independence and freedom? At level 8, your basic lifestyle is financially supported. At level 9, you have significantly more flexibility. You can potentially travel, support your family, pursue projects, start businesses, take extended breaks, donate, explore hobbies, or simply spend more time doing things that matter to you. The key isn't spending more. It's having control. Imagine waking up on Monday morning and realizing you don't have to ask, how much will this cost me? Before every decision. Instead, you ask, is this worth my time? That's a completely different way of thinking. And that's why true wealth isn't simply measured by how much money you have. It's measured by how much control you have over your time. Level 10. Financial independence with purpose. And now we reach the final level. The level that people rarely talk about. Because eventually, you realize something. Money was never the final destination. Imagine you have enough money to pay your bills. Then enough to retire, then enough to travel, then enough to buy almost anything you reasonably want. What happens next? If you haven't figured out what you're actually living for, you can become financially successful and still feel completely lost. Level 10 is about purpose. Your money becomes a tool. You use it to support the people you love, to build something meaningful, to create opportunities, to contribute to causes you care about, to protect your time, to explore the world, or simply to live a life that feels meaningful to you. At this stage, the question changes. You stop asking, how much money do I need? And start asking, what kind of life do I want this money to create? That's the highest level. Because the ultimate goal isn't to accumulate money forever. It's to build enough financial strength that money becomes a tool, instead of becoming your master. So let's quickly climb the ladder one more time. Level 1, financial awareness. You know where your money goes. Level 2, spending less than you earn. You create a gap. Level 3, emergency fund. You protect yourself from unexpected problems. Level 4, debt resistance. You stop expensive debt from controlling your future. Level 5, consistent investing. You put your money to work. Level 6, financial stability. You create margin and options. Level 7, work becomes a choice. You gain the ability to walk away. Level 8, financial independence. Your assets can support your lifestyle. Level 9, financial freedom. Your time and choices become increasingly yours. And finally, Level 10, financial independence with purpose. Your money serves the life you actually want. And here's the most important thing. You don't need to jump from level 1 to level 10. That's not how this works. You simply need to identify where you are today and focus on reaching the next level. Because every level gives you something valuable. Awareness gives you control. Savings give you security. Investing gives you growth. Financial independence gives you options. And purpose gives your wealth meaning. So, what level are you on? Don't worry if you're still at level 1. Everyone starts somewhere. The important thing is that you start moving. Because financial independence isn't built through one massive decision. It's built through thousands of small decisions repeated over time. Spend a little more intentionally. Save a little more consistently. Invest for the long term. Learn more. Avoid unnecessary debt. Build valuable skills. And slowly, your financial life starts changing. Remember, you don't need to be rich to start becoming financially free. You just need to become a little more financially independent than you were yesterday. If you enjoyed this video and want more practical finance, wealth building, investing, and money psychology content, like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to Finance with Brad. And I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep learning, keep building, and keep taking control of your financial future.